up, guys? We're back with another book analysis with Like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquivel. And then the significance of this title is a common expression from multiple Spanish-speaking countries, and it means that emotions are on the verge of boiling over, just like in some Latin American countries they use water to cook the chocolate instead of the milk.
What's up, guys? So I'm about to talk about the author and her history. Her name was Laura Esquivel. She was born on September 30th in 1950. She often writes about destiny and says that it is the path you must follow or travel, and it is up to you to decide how you travel it. Bars, put that in your head. She was born in Mexico City and often writes about Mexican culture and history. So y'all need to get your game up. She believes that the kitchen is very important and it brings understanding and knowledge. She also worked with her husband to make this book into a movie, which was pretty successful, so I recommend y'all watch it. So the setting of the book, Like Water for Chocolate, was set around the Mexican Revolution from 1910 to 1917 in Piedras Negras. That's my part. So Jacob is about to come up here and spit some facts for y'all. So
the story of Like Water for Chocolate is told in 12 monthly installments during each chapter. Each installment features a recipe that is either prepared or consumed and somehow relates to the story. Tita de la Garza, the one who prepares these, lives in the 20th century and deals with the struggle of not being able to marry. Her love, Pedro, comes to take her hand in marriage, however Mama Elena does not allow her to do this. In turn, he decides to marry Rosaura simply to be closer to Tita. Okay, can we take a pause? Laura Esquivel incorporates magical realism by having Tita feel these intense emotions that she imbues into the food that she cooks. One of the bigger examples of this is when she cooks the rose petal quail, which was imbued with her long-needed love from Pedro. And when Gertrudis eats this food, she runs off in the arms of a revolutionaire in deep love. Meanwhile, Rosaura is also going to be giving birth to her first son, Roberto, and no one there is there to deliver it, and thus Tita takes care of it and delivers it. Tita sees Roberto almost like her own child, and is even able to produce the breast milk that she needs to feed it when Rosaura has completely run dry. Later, Mama Elena sees that Tita is getting real close to Pedro and decides to send Pedro and Rosaura away for a while into San Antonio. It's during this time that the family finds out that Roberto has died. This causes a shock amongst everyone, especially Tita. Tita ends up going somewhat insane and hides up in the pigeon house. It is there she is then feeding a dead pigeon. Checha goes up there and found Tita holding the pigeon. She didn't seem to realize it was dead. It was then she was sent away to an asylum by Mama Elena with John Brown, a doctor that helps with the family a lot. However, John Brown decides to not take her to an asylum and instead take her to his own place to then care for her.
See you later, crackheads.
While at John Brown's, Tita is able to finally find herself once again. While being washed down, she describes the hands of John as those hands had rescued her from horror, and she would never forget it. She was finally saved from the tyrannical being that Mama Elena is, and was finally able to find humanity in herself. It is there she also learns what real love is like when she's with John Brown, and sees something in him. During this time also, Mama Elena ends up becoming a paraplegic when she is then attacked by bandits at the ranch. In turn, she has Tita come back to be able to be a cook for her to then take care of her. It is during this time that Mama Elena believes that she is trying to poison her, and she refuses to eat any of the food that Tita gives her without having someone else check it. This distrust leads to many issues amongst family, including a fight between Tita and Pedro over John trying to marry Tita. Eventually, Mama Elena dies, not from poisoning, but from poisoning herself with Iaputic, a medicine that slowly killed her as she was taking it secretly. It is from this that Tita learns freedom and happiness. After Mama Elena's passing, it is then Rosaura has another child. Her name is Esperanza. Rosaura tells Tita that Esperanza won't be able to marry and will have to take care of her. These words enraged Tita almost, and Tita had no power to stop it. It is also then that she goes into a dark room and finds Pedro, and they do. Afterwards, Mama Elena's ghost comes in and appears, stating that Tita's baby is cursed, and thus insinuating that Tita has just gotten pregnant from Pedro. However, eventually, Tita stands up to Mama Elena's ghost and this whole feeling goes away. And that's when she finally has true bliss and freedom from Mama Elena. And baby was never even real. Soon after the dark room, Tita is soon greeted by Gertrudis and her whole platoon that she is now leading. They request that they get some food from Tita, as she is a great cook and known by Gertrudis. It is during this that one of the most eventful moments happen in the story, where Tita finally shows her character development. Mama Elena's ghost comes in at one point into her room and says that she is going to be condemned to hell, but Tita stands up finally to Mama Elena, saying that she knows who she is, a person who has perfect right to live her life as she pleases. Once and for all, leave me alone. I won't put up with you. I hate you. I've always hated you. This shows how Tita has finally grown the confidence to choose her own life. Soon after, Mama Elena's body turns into a small firecracker, flies out the window, destroys a candle, and lights Pedro on fire.
Due to Rosaura's not being able to have another baby, Esperanza is stuck in the same loop as Tita, not being able to find love or marry. It's a tradition in the De La Garza family that the youngest is meant to not find love and to always take care of their mother.
Rosaura then decides to state that she won't allow Esperanza to marry, as she is the youngest, thus carrying on the De La Garza tradition. This infuriates Tita, however she can't do much as it's not her child, it's simply just her niece. She then later goes into a dark room and Pedro shows up, and instead of just talking, they do some. It is then afterwards that Mama Elena's ghost appears and then states that Tita has a cursed baby and will always have a cursed baby. From then, she decides to stand up against Mama Elena's ghost and says that she hates her and that she can't hold her back anymore. And thus Mama Elena's ghost turns into a small firecracker, flies out the window, blows up a lamp, and lights Pedro on fire. John Brown comes to help heal Pedro, and it finally also shows the relief of tension between all the characters, as John Brown no longer will marry Tita, and Tita is showing more affection towards Pedro. It is from this tragedy that Pedro and Tita become further apart, yet somewhat closer. It is also during this time that she denies John Brown's proposal and chooses to not marry him. The book then chooses to skip a year ahead to show Esperanza and Alex marrying. However, Esperanza is only able to do this because Rosaura had passed away. She had died in a room from a extremely long flatulence that had literally caused her body to go flat. And from this, they are able to find love between Pedro and Tita and Esperanza and Alex. The final scenes of the story are spoken in a first-person view from Esperanza's child. The significance of this is showing how the whole family tradition has changed completely as culture is thrown out the window and Esperanza's family lives finally in peace without the tyranny of the De La Garza family tradition. It also speaks on how Esperanza's child also has this sensitivity to onions, just like in the start of the story, where Tita would cry so freely while making Christmas rolls, which also happens to be this child's favorite dish. In turn, it shows how tradition can be passed on through family, but not all of it has to go with it.
Show this to my mama.
That, like Water for Chocolate talked about, was the Mexican Revolution. For example, we can see how in the Mexican Revolution there are people fighting for their own independence, so having their own revolution, creating their own groups. And we can see that in the same for Tita as she was trying to find her own independence within her family and the traditional custom and values that were held within her mom. So we can see another example that was seen through Gertrudis, her sister. And for Gertrudis, we're seeing how her woman-like appearance was changed greatly as she left her family without even telling her family and became a general within the Revolutionary War. So we can see its significance about the Mexican Revolution and how there's a correlation between that event and between Tita and Gertrudis and the other women in the family and how their independence really sparked and made a difference for the book.
One of the themes in like Water for Chocolate is food. Due to the magical nature in food, the characters' feelings are imbued into the food. And another one is self-growth. Especially for Tita, everyone can change.
And those that they consume the food, holy rose-tailed quail,